Oh, all right. But we'll run through the headlines. We've each got a few papers in front of us, and then we'll take some details. The Ghanaian Observer has this to say this morning. President Akufo-Addo touts projects and policies to cushion Ghanaians. Well, that's how it's captured in the Ghanaian Observer. I don't know what projects and policies and what type of cushioning they are referring to in this paper. It would be nice to get a breakdown on that. It's captured in pages 5, 9, and 10. Boost for Galamsey fight as the Akufo-Addo readies to commission 3 community mining schemes. Is this good news? Well, we'll find out. Newborns to get Ghana card numbers from March 31st. The Vice President is pictured here. And UN reforms overdue. Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah is saying. The Finder this morning has this to say. Slain soldier trooper Imoro Sharif laid to rest. Blood donation records sharp decline in 5 years, and 288,800 apply for YouStart. Full-scale execution targets 1 million jobs in 3 years. That's an interesting figure that they've put to it. Does this number comprise some of the persons involved in NAPCO? Not too sure. Communications Ministry targets to train 5,000 girls in ICT in 2023. Now, I had a conversation on International Women's Day with the Honorable Ursula Usokuful, and she was talking about plans to involve more young girls in STEM. Finally, the Guardian Times says this. Former minister jailed over land goes in 7 days for contempt. We'll talk about that. It's captured on page 3. Migrant constitutes 28.5% of Ghana's population. Slain soldier laid to rest, and Geological Survey Authority requires some $200 million investment to transmit real-time data on earthquakes. Gentlemen.
I'll take you to the Metro Lens newspaper. On the front page, soldier killed at Ashaman laid to rest. The story is on page 5. Also on the front page, women urged to embrace them, page 7. And then Parliamentary Committee on Health affirms assurance to strengthen level control system. And John Dramani Mahama, this says the walking contradiction that keeps contradicting. It is by Renel Boadu, an opinion by Renel Boadu. If you go to page 8 of the paper, it says scrap nurses and teacher trainee allowances. Citizen Ato does it tells government, and then stop issuing Ghanaian passports to non-citizens through door-to-door services. Eric Che Bafo to Ghana Embassy in Italy. We're also looking at Dr. Bawumia Commission's Ghana's first National Children's Library. These are the stories captured by the Metro Lens newspaper.
I think you also have the daily graphic on your side, Crosby.
Yes, I do. I'll quickly walk you through the front page. It says killed soldier laid to rest. Ashaman residents demand justice, page 13. Law enforcement to doorstep. Police create 7 new regions. And GS applauds junior graphic for essay competition. Debate on new constitutional instruments. CDD Ghana suggests use of guarantor system. We go to the back page of the paper. Blood bank falls short on annual requirement. And Japan Embassy signs grant contracts with 4 entities. Center spread of the paper. Spanish warship provides maritime security. Speakers urge need to address food loss and then food waste. GS applauds junior graphic for essay competition. These are the stories the Daily Graphic has captured.
The Daily Guide, and is claiming to be Ghana's favorite newspaper. Respect people in uniform. That's according to the Defense Minister Dominic Nitiwo. Tears flow as Ashaman soldier laid to rest, and gang of 3 jailed 75 for robbery, rape, and possession of firearms without authority. Aisha Wang's son convicted and deported. Interestingly, is Aisha Wang's picture that is on the front page, not his son.
I see.
Aisha Wang residents demand justice over military brutality. And on the back page of the Daily Guide, Chris Whitton names 25 to face Angola. That's for the Black Star team.
Interesting.
The Republic serving the Republic. Ashaman in shock as anger trails military swoop. Slain soldier buried. Defense Minister calls for respect for soldiers. And Ashanti region, parents stranded as vaccine scarcity hits Kumasi. Mahama wants compensation for victims, and apparently he's talking about the Ashaman incident. Republic Press this morning.
All right, well, let's get into some details. This one is very concerning to me. It's captured in page 3 of the Ghanaian Times, and we're told soldier beaten after killing of colleague at Ashaiman. Now, barely a week after the alleged murder of Private Imoro Sharif at Ashaiman in the Greater Accra region, another soldier has been beaten to pulp. Now, Moro was killed at the vicinity of Taifa, a suburb of Ashaiman, last Friday. The soldier, who was named as Private Ahmed, was beaten at Old Tulaku, several kilometers from the initial crime scene. Is that the area, Tulaku?
Yes, I saw
Tulaku.
it.
Now, the Ghanaian Times gathered that the assaulted soldier was among military men from the 1st Infantry who undertook the operation at Ashaiman on March 6. The soldier who was assaulted have said to have entered an uncompleted building where alleged suspects were hiding. Goodness me, is this warfare? What is happening now? Retaliation versus retaliation.
You know, I saw a comment that military operations are usually targeted.
Right.
So they know where they are going, they know what they're going to do. But this, it appears, was just futu-fras.
Just too open.
Too wide.
The net was too wide.
Anybody you see, people going to work in company vehicles, you call them, you ask them to get down, and then you do what you want to do with them. That's not intelligence, I'm afraid. That's rather the opposite of intelligence, and that will be what.
And now we're seeing that another soldier, we're told, who was part of the 1st Infantry, went and found himself in an uncompleted building and was given a beating, a severe beating.
I mean, the whole incident, I don't know what to say again. Because all has been said. Everybody is talking about it. They have come out to apologize. It was just out of anger.
That's right.
Well, they shouldn't apologize to us. They should apologize to the people they offended. Go to Asham and apologize to them.
But they said it will be there on Thursday.
But
that's right. And that's another layer now.
Ghanaians too were offended. I mean, I was offended.
No, but there's the primary victims. Sure. So you go to the primary victims and then you apologize
like
to them
that happens, like they say in Account, you can't stand among the ants and picking ants. So they want the situation to calm down, then they'll go there on Thursday.
And that is what Honorable Kennedy Japan said, that they don't want to enter the town and maybe inflame emotions.
Yes.
So maybe some restraint is needed, some careful consideration before they go there and make utterances.
The first apology has come. The second one will come Thursday when tempers have
What about calls for us to just forget about it? These are the ways of soldiers. It's par for the cause.
Because as we said yesterday, and as was cemented by the venerable old soldier, Dr. Nyahu Tamaklo, our history when it comes to the military since 1966 is not something that we should just sweep under the carpet. I mean, this was his expression. We can't sweep these things under the carpet. When they come, we'll talk about them and insist that the military stay in the barracks. Because if there's a murder or if there's homicide, let me put it that way, and you want how do you call it, to deal with it, you go through the military police, they alert the police, they work with them, and the police lead the investigation. You don't go and do what you did. And if I apologize, I mean, out of anger, the military high command has even come out to say they sanctioned the whole operation, and I find that very interesting. So it's happened already, but nobody should say that we should forget about it. I mean,
are we worried about further reprisals? Now a soldier went
because I'm wondering
that's a possible reality.
I mean, it's not something that anybody would encourage, but as we're asking, we should be worried, because if a soldier goes to Ashaman today, he himself will be scared.
Goes and find himself late at night and
he's alone.
Dangerous place alone.
Yes, so it's something that we shouldn't be encouraging. We've had too many military, is it the word adventurism in Ghana? I mean, I don't think it's something that the military should be doing. We bought new vehicles for you and new helicopter, and I mean, you wake up in the morning and there's a chopper over your roof. And what is he coming to do? He's coming to catch you and beat you. The soldiers on board are just coming to. I mean,
and throughout the show, we'll be listening to the accounts of some of the people who were basically on their way to work. Those that said they had no idea what had happened, beaten to a pulp. A young gentleman, Crosby, I'm sure you are aware, suffers with rheumatism, which kicked in on the way there. Others could have severely been impacted, even more so than they have. What if we'd had more deaths on our hands? People have pre-existing medical conditions. It could have turned into something truly dangerous.
And it's not over yet. Those people who may have had pre-medical conditions, there's still days for those conditions to come out and then the effects to be seen.
We hope,
so that's why
not.
Amnesty International, for instance, is asking that the victims be compensated. look for them. All the people you caught, all the homes you visited, they know the places they went to. Find them and then find some compensation for them. You don't know what you've caused to who, or who you've caused what to. That's you mentioned that maybe we should accept this the way of the military, but this is really not the way of the military. Military is not, they are not for the civilian environment. Personally, I have a problem when I see a military man in uniform by the roadside, in the public transport, buying food and all of that. I feel we're making them too familiar to ourselves. And that, in a certain sense, will reduce the levels of respect. Maybe not now, but in the future. I think the military should be kept in the barracks, just like William said. You should not be seeing them around in their uniform. And you're arguing with a military man, over transport fares in a taxi, all of that. It is something that should not happen.
That's not good. Well, staying on this, military brutalities at Ashaiman, unfortunate. Defense Minister here is saying that we need to respect the people in uniform. He says that will help all of us. The armed military men on Tuesday dawn stormed the densely populated Ashaiman, as we all know, and subjected some people to brutality. The conversation, though, is of course unfolding as the show goes on. We'll talk more about it.
I find this very curious. The Daily Statesman, a paper that is linked to the president and to the MPP, has nothing on the Ashaiman incident. Is it because the president is the commander-in-chief and the whole military setup has goofed, so they don't want to talk about it? I mean, I've looked through the whole paper. There's not a single story
the president himself did not mention it in his state of
Is this ostrich behavior, burying a head, pretending it's not happening?
There's nothing on the soldier. There's nothing on the funeral. There's nothing on the defense minister. There's nothing on the military, and I find that quite curious. Anyway, don't pay money for justice, CJ cautions, and NDC directs MPs to reject ministerial nominees and financial bills. Government targets 500,000 hectare bamboo project. Retaining experienced civil servants beyond retirement age. GRA boss in focus. That's on the front page of the Statesman. Nothing on Ashaiman.
All right, well, William, I'll stop you right there. We'll go for a very quick break, and then when we come back, we'll carry on with the review. A number of stories here captured on the various pages. We'll talk about it. This is still 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7.
Cylinder recirculation model. Eye dwumadie foforo ye dia ba ebeboa pa. Eno ani se ubefa wo cylinder a hwe nim na wo dia kwa exchange point. Akwa cylinder ya feeling dada e dia ma wo. Ai ubeto wo LPG e wo bia bambo ene nhihye pa egu foma enyo haubia e ma wo. Shenenso cylinder bia ya bomode ahwe ehun se ehu ba bia entochima ama ne bambo nsem so ejina pintin. Ensatie nyina anya penti cylinder no yo mu nkruwankruwa enimu akese sadia beya obi abenya ne so ene ne de ede na afa na ede se wo banu awaduane wo bia enwusie ene wo haw bia ma wo so na wo bambo begina pintin ama wankasa ene wabusia kofa cylinder a ya feeling ne dada cylinder recirculation model dwumadie ya de pre-yem bambo na ya boa ama enwuma so abuso sanka boy National Petroleum Authority ene Ministry of Energy adaruma ene ya de brem
3FM Sunrise.
And we are back. Let's carry on with the news review. The break is over. The Finder newspaper had this story captured on the front page. 288,800 apply for YouStart. Full-scale execution targets 1 million jobs in 3 years. I'm sure you know why I picked the story. We've been talking about NABCO, the fallouts from NABCO, the fracas with, NABCOians being represented during the 6th March parade. But some 288,800 individuals have applied for support under the YouStart initiative, a deliberate program aimed at growing startups to contribute to the government's agenda of creating 1 million jobs. President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo has announced this during the State of the Nation SONA address. He said the Ghana Enterprises Agency, GEA, has begun processing the applications. Now, William, you talk about government going back to strengthening some of its earlier proposed policies. This is one that they had mentioned a while ago after NABCO came to an end. They talked about YouStart. Sometime last August, plans to launch were underway. And then now we hear this figure. I was trying to follow what was going on. I didn't get too much information, but according to the story, almost 300,000 persons have applied for UStart. They're saying 1 million jobs in 3 years.
Okay, so when the program or the project is successful, we are expecting 1 million jobs to be created. But the point I'm making all the time on the show is that the macroeconomic environment is not friendly for business.
Right.
So the fundamentals are so weak that even if this program is successful in terms of whatever they intend to do, if they have the money to roll up those jobs, how sustainable are they going to be when interest rate is hovering around 37 to 45%, depending on whether you're taking a variable, scheme, or you are going for how do you call it, a permanent, figure.
Right.
So the government should concentrate on getting the fundamentals right. We have to work on the foreign exchange rates, work on the interest rates, work on the debt stock, so that when all those fundamentals are good, the government doesn't even need to create jobs. As I keep saying, if you go to the US, it is the private enterprises that are driving the economy. You talk about Facebook, you talk about Meta, you talk about Twitter, you talk about Amazon. Those are big corporations, that are running smoothly. They are getting good support from the financial environment to make the businesses thrive. So if people are taking interest as low as 2%, 1%, and sometimes 0%, and you as a business person, after going through all this training or whatever the UStart is going to offer them, you come out and you create your job. And it's not sustainable because the environment is not good. Businesses are shutting down, especially after COVID. And if we target individuals like this, we say we're going to use NAPO to train them so that when they come out, they do their own thing.
That's right.
How different is that from UStart? So I'm saying that the government should concentrate on what it is supposed to do. Job creation is good if the government steps in. It's good. But it's better if it's driven by private enterprises. And the private enterprises can drive the economy if the fundamentals are good. As we speak, the fundamentals don't even exist. There are no fundamentals. The economy is just hanging.
That's right.
The economy is crashed. And this is not something I'm saying. They have been saying it themselves.
It's not that we are crashing. We have crashed.
We've crashed. So that's what they should concentrate on doing. So that if today, as a city, I have an idea I want to roll out, and I go to a bank and I'm getting interest rate 10%, then I'm believing the government is doing something. But not when you roll me out of UStart and I go to the bank to take an interest, a loan, and the interest rate is running around 37%. And if it's going to be a fixed rate, that's the word I was looking for. Fixed rate, you say 45%. How is UStart going to help me? So I think the policies are too many now.
Right.
The government has been in a rush to roll out too many policies.
And the president said it himself. He says that he's been in a hurry to get all of these off the ground. And he also says that's the reason for a lot of borrowing we've seen is because he's been in a rush to get these off the ground.
I think it's more... Yeah, exactly.
How successful have they been? We understand. You have an idea. If you begin implementing them and then you find out you're not working, it is only natural, only wise that you take a step back, you review what you've done, you do the corrections, you don't add on.
Not in our part of the world where everybody's in a rush to say, well, I completed so and so. Nobody wants to say that we did this. I did this in tandem with the opposition or that is unheard of. So this desire to stamp, our names on projects as if we own them for ourselves. That's what we're seeing here. So when the president says, I'm in a rush to complete it, the reason is because we don't really see government as a continuum. It's a competition. Russia. Well, this one I think is some great news off the back of International Women's Day also. The Ghana Armed Forces has exceeded the UN quota of female inclusion. Well done. Well, the Ghana Armed Forces has exceeded the United Nations recommended quota for female inclusion in the military. Naval Captain Veronica Adjo-Ahin, Special Gender Advisor to the Chief of Defense Staff at the Ghana Armed Forces, said GAF has made remarkable progress in achieving gender mainstreaming, equality, and equity. Now, the Ghana Armed Forces commemoration of the International Women's Day on the theme, Enhancing GAF's Innovative Gender Equity Strides for an Inclusive Force. She said this feat had been achieved in areas of recruitment, enlistment, education, and retention of females within the forces. That's some great news for us to exceed that quota set by the UN. I saw some fine military women this morning, suited and booted for God and country. Let's keep up the good work.
In other sectors of national development, so we're talking about the military, they've exceeded the quota, good news for them. How about in the legislature, in the executive, in other arms of government, in other agencies, those... How are we doing with that? Have we exceeded those quotas, or we've not even begun?
Are we even close? In fact, Naya Jantwa joined us yesterday for the review. She's the General Secretary of the CPP, and I asked her what she thought about the president wishing us all happy International Women's Day. She talked about the affirmative action bill. She said she would have loved to have had something on that. President's been, quite silent on that, and a host of other things. You all wanted him to talk about the pertinent issues, as opposed to touting these projects and policies, as the Ghanaian Observer is letting us know. They said it's to cushion Ghanaians. I don't know if either of you heard anything that gave you some hope for the future, some prospect of cushioning.
The cushioning thing is, it has to do with what we discussed at first, the U-Start thing. And
right.
If what I read is what it is a 1 billion project, 1 billion Ghana cedi project. And I'm asking, what's the value of 1 billion cedis as we speak?
Exactly.
It's targeting about 50,000 individuals who are entrepreneurs or young entrepreneurs, and I'm asking if they're even going to get 10,000 cedis loan. How much is that in real terms? Because we know the city has been so battered.
That's right.
That the wealth is so low that if you launch a project that is a 1 billion Ghana cedi project, what is it going to do for anybody? Because if you start with 10,000 cedis, along the line you need more money.
Absolutely.
And the government is not going to give you more money. And how is the environment going to help you to create wealth out of 10,000 cedis to sustain the business? So I think it was one of those things that the government is doing to try to help. But I don't, quite frankly, see how that is going to cushion anybody. Because, they should concentrate on the fundamentals. I'll keep saying.
And that is the way forward. Before we wrap up quickly and make way for Crosby and the business news, William, this one will interest you. It's a piece here. It's on page 4. And when we come back, we can discuss it a little bit and get into other matters. Retaining experienced civil servants beyond retirement age, a strategic move for positive transformation and national development. You've got none other than Dr. Amishadai Owusu-Amoah. I'm not sure if he's the one who commissioned this piece, but he wants to let us know that going past the retirement age for these types of roles, there's a benefit to it. He said strategic transformation, national development. But we'll get into it when we return. I think this is something that we can chop up, sink our teeth into. It is some 3 minutes to the top of the hour. Business news will be coming your way shortly. We apologize. No Johnny's bites this morning. Sometimes even the biter's teeth come in. I didn't say it, though. The gentleman said it. They said even the biter.
My brother. It's not easy. Waking up every morning, back to back.
If he gets one pork today, we'll be fine.
Yeah,
one pork and some
beer cry. Anyway, the weekend is here. Felicity says that we should be expecting some rain, which is something else for concern. I hope we are not here on Monday reporting too many casualties, some pleasantries from the weekend as the rains approach. It's mid-March, the rainy season is upon us, and we're still seeing the same.
Yesterday I was at the pharmacy
issues.
And everybody who was coming in was buying vitamin C, was buying painkiller, was buying cough mixtures. And I'm like, oh man,
Tis the season.
Yeah. So if you are done with cold, you're my brother and my sister. It's not easy.
The weekend is here. Hopefully you can put your feet up and relax. But Crosby will be coming up with the news very shortly. It is some 2 minutes to the top of the hour. This is still 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7.
3FM Sunrise. 3FM Sunrise. Start your day.